Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Grieco, here again with part 2 of our Mark of the Ninja Deep Listens podcast. Deep Listens, your bi-weekly video game book club that's no longer bi-weekly. We're filling in the off weeks. I guess I didn't just explain that in part 1. Yeah, we're going to be filling in the off weeks with other weird podcasts. And
Weird?
I am joined...
Weird?
Well,
Good?
Different than standard.
Different than standard. It's not going to necessarily be a different game every off week necessarily. Maybe we'll do some interviews. Maybe we'll play games with people who are not us three on the same page about it. Maybe there'll be a surprise podcast where I play Final Fantasy IX by myself. Who knows?
Oh, that's not a surprise.
It's just me
just
in a dark room.
Expect it.
Yeah, maybe if there's a community endurance run thing, we'll have a podcast or something. Who knows? But the off weeks will now have content where before there was no content. And that voice you heard was Billy Leaderboard Rothert.
Ooh,
See, that one I can actually get behind.
I know. I let you have that one.
Uh-huh.
that's it. You got one good one.
Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the Market Ninja podcast. My name is Billy Rothert, a.k.a. Rothgar, and I'm looking forward to getting into the story part of this game.
Yep, and we are also joined, as always, by Peter, Silent and Not Quite Deadly Busby.
What's going on, everybody? Animal fact part 2 for you. Do you know that engineers improved the functioning and handling of helicopter blades by studying the fins of sperm whales?
What?
So sperm whale fins have these little bumps on them, like their pectoral fins.
Okay.
So traditionally, helicopter blades were made as smooth as possible on the front-facing edge, but when they noticed the handling and maneuverability of sperm whales, they added little bumps to the helicopter blades.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I can't... Okay. Oh,
We learn...
okay,
this-
whales.
You know what? This podcast, if you learn nothing else, you learn a weird animal
That's
fact a week.
You get an animal fact.
That improves my life in so many ways.
There you go.
So, if you want to send feedback about our animal facts or anything, at Deep Listens Pod, we've got a new Twitter handle. If you, for some reason, listen to part 2 without part 1, I'm just going to say this. I don't know if I'm going to do this every time going forward, but just now, because we changed the Twitter handle and changed the email, at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter and Deep Listens Podcast at gmail.com. So, now, part 2 of Mark of the Ninja. Let's go into spoiler territory on the story.
Let's do it.
Going forward, we're going to try and keep the spoilers out of part 1. We're going to try to keep things pretty
Mechanical.
or
Introductory.
boilerplate, introductory on the first half. Maybe something closer to a review. It's like stuff a reviewer might talk about. And then the second half, we're going deep. Even deeper. So I think we were pretty deep in the first half.
We do get pretty deep in the first half because we talk about not only gameplay mechanics, but like how it affects us outside the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, story-wise, Mark of the Ninja sets you up. You're a nameless ninja. Well,
You're Mark. Mark
of the Ninja. And you are running around. You've got your tattoos that are supposed to confer upon you unspeakable ninja power at the expense of slowly driving you mad because the toxins in the tattoo affect your mind as well as your body.
Yep.
So in the later half of the game, it becomes clear that your character is supposed to commit suicide. Like, you're supposed to complete your task and then commit suicide. However, after you find and kill Count Karajan, it's revealed that your ninja sensei is trying to use technology to improve the ninja clan. And so you come to the realization that maybe you have been manipulated. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden there's an ad lib on the killing yourself part of the plan. You go back to your ninja dojo, then you try to find out where your tattoo came from for some reason, where the tattoo juice comes from.
History of the ink.
Yeah.
Like the story of the ink.
Yeah, the story of the ink. You try to find that out. Once you find that out, then you go back to your ninja dojo and you have a confrontation with your sensei.
Yes.
And so did you understand why you were sent to find the flower? Ninja flower? Eating flour?
So
It's because
the per-
Dosan left,
yeah.
right?
Well, Dosan left to get the flower, but the precipitating motivation was Azai, your ninja sensei, needed to embrace this technology because the flower was dead. It was extinct. So their previous way of life was no longer applicable. So what did he decide to do? Import technology. So I think you were going to see if you could find the flower to prove Azai would be motivated to steal this technology.
Okay. Okay, I didn't see that part. I saw that the flowers had been dead for X number of years or whatever, but I did not understand that that was the motivating factor for bringing in this technological advancement.
Yeah, as I see it, it was.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes way more sense than you just kind of going to the middle of the desert for no reason to save Dosan.
Just check things out.
Just to have a new environment, an area full of explosives and stupid traps. That was the worst. I hated those levels. Just with all the traps and the exploding stuff. Because all of a sudden the game just changes really, really dramatically from like dealing with these enemies to all of a sudden the environment being an enemy.
So I think there was like a real story reason for why you go on this personal journey to find the ink. I'm pretty sure the story reason that they gave was Dosan, after learning that the ninja, the Hisomu clan, was trying to import technology, also flees to go on a mission for his own like personal gain to find the origin of the flower from which you get the ink. And then you, the protagonist, and Aura, your female companion, decide to go find Dosan wherever he's doing. He goes off to the desert, and you just try to go find him, and then you learn more stuff. So I think that's like the story reason behind like why you go on this like tangent. Like it seems like a tangent, or just like a arbitrary extender of story and gameplay, but it makes sense to me that Dosan, who is also, I guess, sort of a traditional purist of the ninja way.
Well, he's like the oldest member of the clan.
Yeah, he's one of the originals, right? And
yeah, he's an OG.
if you get some of the DLC, you see some of his own missions and stuff, and he's also a badass. But
I believe it. He does a mean tat.
He's got sick ink skills.
It's steamy.
And he throws water on you and it's boiling.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Anyway, so I think that's the real reason why we get sort of an ink obsession probably 2/3 into the game. But you're right. Yeah. I think the missions that I disliked the most were those desert missions. I think I disliked them the most. I'm sorry, I didn't hate them, but I think I just liked the other ones a lot better.
Yeah, I disliked the early desert missions just because they became so trap heavy. All of a sudden, the game became about navigating traps instead of navigating enemies, and none of my weapons actually did anything to traps, especially the traps that were being deployed in that later half of the game, or that later third of the game. And then on top of that, you get your powers taken away after the Dosan mission. So then it just becomes a pure stealth game. You can't engage in combat, really, until the very last mission, when you finally decide to rebel against your master, Azai. And that mission, you start seeing the sanity start to come apart. All of a sudden, there's Japanese painting kind of overlaid over the entire display of all the background.
Mm-hmm.
Aura is the name of the character who's with you, right?
Yeah.
Your female companion. She tells you, you're probably going to see enemies that aren't there. And if you feel bullets, your body will still feel the bullets, even though they're not real bullets, which is kind of suspect.
I had a problem with this because if you encounter a hallucination enemy and you terrorize them, they can shoot their hallucination bullets at supposedly real and sane enemies and kill them.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna let that one go.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense to me.
Some loose ends.
It's really a little flimsy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hallucination is not that you're seeing enemies that aren't there. It's that all the enemies you're seeing are actually your ninja clanmates who you're killing as you're running through this. Running through your old dojo. They poof and then turn into ninjas.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe
So
there is a
maybe-
human there. You can still terrorize them.
And they're throwing ninja stars.
Is that, yeah, I was
Sure.
going to say they wouldn't have guns, but just ninja stars? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
But, yeah, that last level, visually, it's striking. The Japanese painting and the faces and stuff that are popping up in the background, and all of the enemies kind of poof and stop being guards and start being other ninja.
Yeah.
And the faces react differently depending on how you play. I think if you stay stealthy in the missions and don't kill anybody, the faces don't get angry. But then if you like kill people or make a lot of sound, they'll become like angry faces.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I really couldn't nail that down because it was inconsistent for me. I didn't have enough time to sort of test and see how those little face painting things worked that were like on the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's how it worked. It seemed like that was the most consistent reason behind it.
Well, I definitely appreciated the visual style, but just that last... So again, like I mentioned in the first half of this discussion, you get this entire ninja outfit, and you get all of your powers, and you unlock things, and you unlock different outfits and different weapons. And the apotheosis of that is fighting your way through your old home. And because you, at that point, understand that you're hallucinating and you're killing people that probably don't deserve to die, I felt really terrible about using my newfound powers or my reacquired powers on these characters because I knew that the people I'm hurting don't want to hurt me, in all likelihood. And there are story reasons that my character is probably not a reliable narrator anymore. And so I found that by the time I had all of my powers, I didn't have the will to use them. Which maybe is
Who's the real narrator, though?
It's Aura.
True.
Aura is your... So, big revelation, I guess, at the end of the game is Aura was a hallucination the whole time.
Sort of the first figment of your imagination to become manifest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so...
Just, to gauge everybody's reaction, who'd you guys kill then?
Both. Replayed the whole game.
All right, well, pick one, Bill. Who'd you kill first?
First person I killed was Azai. Because that was the quote-unquote, like, story way to go.
Okay.
Really? I killed myself. Well, I killed Aura, but you find out that...
You kill Aura, and it's the same thing as killing yourself, and that is just like a hard end to the story. And then if you kill Azai, it shows you sort of like accept your insanity, and then you just like
Fly off into the distance.
basically fly away in ninja mode, and you're all rogue now.
Yeah.
And that opens up the possibility for more story.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pete, what do you think?
I mean, I killed Azai just because I liked Aura, and I was like,
Me too.
I like
I thought
that.
she
I
was
wonder if
cool,
it's her.
even if she was a manifestation of my own insanity.
My homicidal tendencies.
Like basically any girlfriend I've had is basically just manifestation. Deep.
Vegeta, you were making a larger point. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I was... By the time you get to Aura, like, revealing... So once you get to those final cutscenes and you can see that Aura is flickering in and out of existence,
Yeah.
literally, there's no real question about, oh, maybe my character is the good guy and maybe Azai is manipulating me.
Yeah, there was no subtlety there.
No, it's like, no, your character, maybe... You don't even know if Azai is stealing technology at that point. Like...
Yeah.
If you're going to not trust you. It turns out that it seems like Azai is actually doing that. That was real. But by that point, once you know that the narrator of the game was a figment of your imagination, the enemies you were killing were not enemies. They were your ninja brethren. I was just like, well, my character cannot be trusted. Clearly, all the questions about, like, Aura questions whether the tattoo ink even drives you mad. And it's clear that it did. Like, the backgrounds are shifting chickens and, like, there's a whole bunch of weird stuff, like fish and koi and stuff.
Now, you guys might have a better understanding of this than I do because I'm really not a literary person. But what changes when you take away like the fundamental trust of the narrator? What happens with a narrator that you can't trust that's different than like what happens there?
Unreliable narrators?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that like a theme in literature? I'm honestly just
Yeah.
like ignorant of that stuff.
Yes.
Yes, it's a pretty
Yeah, it's a
widely
big-
used one.
It's a big one.
One
My
Flew Over
first,
the Cuckoo's Nest is the most famous example.
yeah, Lolita's another one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a pretty famous example. But what happens is then you have to question everything that the narrator is telling you, and then you have to try to establish what is truth and what is not truth. And in this game, the greatest strength of an unreliable narrator is allowing the reader to then have to suss out what they believe the truth to be, and when the narrator is manipulating them and when the narrator isn't. But this game kind of strips that all away when it very clearly shows Aura as a figment of your imagination.
Yeah.
So you know immediately what is and is not real.
Well-
Even in killing the enemies in the final level, the ninjas, the techno ninjas, don't vanish. They don't hallucinate away. They stay dead exactly as they were. Whereas all of the kind of security guard looking guys that you kill evaporate in kind of their body evaporates, and what's left behind is a ninja corpse. So even in that final level, the game says, okay, so these techno ninjas are real, and every other enemy you're seeing is a hallucination. So they pretty clearly delineate what's reliable and what isn't.
and another great strength of the unreliable narrator is sort of breaking down the very concept of truth. Like, there's no way to hold up this monolithic capital T truth. All truth is subjective. But again, this game sort of does away with that idea by establishing, no, there is one truth, and it's a Zai's truth. So it's sort of, I mean, it's a nice touch to have that twist, that unreliable notion, but it doesn't do it with the sort of subtlety necessary to make it, I don't want to say worthwhile, but to make it a more impactful aspect of the game.
Yeah, and I think once a Zai allows you to take a sword and go get him, and just like, yeah, we need to embrace technology. We're going to be wiped off the face of the earth if we don't. But it's your choice.
Doom us all, or, whatever.
And then, the aura is just like, he needs to die. And then all the ninjas need to die because they're all soiled. It's like, okay. Like, for a while there, Aura was a voice in my head who I thought was maybe speaking reason. And now she's telling me to kill everyone. So...
She flipped that genocide switch real quick.
Yeah,
She
she
did.
did.
And so I was
Exterminate them all because they're not worthy.
They're impure.
Yeah, and so, Pete, did you want to talk about the whole purity notion?
Yeah, I do want to talk about the technology aspect of it. It's sort of, I think this is the second game we've seen something like this, and I can't quite remember the first. But
Psychonauts.
was it? No.
No, it was not.
I think it was Final Fantasy VIII.
No.
But this,
Is there a purity notion? You keep talking. I'm thinking if that
No,
existed.
please.
but there's this sort of Heideggerian notion, and any Heidegger experts in our audience, feel free to contradict me, but that technology prevents you from tapping into the sort of ultimate essence of being, right? It keeps you from living an authentic life, which seems like a very dangerous position of a video game to take. That sort of technological mediation inherently makes things less valuable. But, I mean, the game presents it as, at least initially, a tempting idea, right? No, these ninja are impure, right? They're using technology. They shouldn't be. And it's sort of a twofold question. One, well, why is that vision attractive? And two, why would that even be the case in the first place? Why are ninjas using technology inherently improper?
Yeah, and I think on the one hand, the game is presenting you with, as your player character is the height of the expression of kind of the old ways.
Yeah.
All of your tools are like insects and bamboo darts and maybe some powders at most.
If I had to guess, I would probably approach it from a definition standpoint and say that part of what it means to be a ninja is not only your actions, but your methods. And part of being a ninja is, at least in my definition, using not rudimentary, but like very simple tools to maximum efficiency.
So I think that's a modern romantic notion of ninjahood.
Yes, and I think that that's the main. So this game deals in that.
Yes.
That notion, that noble, that sense of honor. I mean, the currency with which you buy
lit-
upgrades
is literal
honor.
honor.
Honor points.
So this game definitely trades in the romanticized, generally European notion of the ninja as like this badass from Japan who has these magical. Maybe they have magical powers. Maybe they're not magical. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they do stuff in the shadows of the night, like the kind of thing that leads to Ninja Warrior being a show that's popular in the U.S.
Nice.
Um,
I watched
and-
every episode of that, by the way.
Absolutely.
Completionist.
yeah, and that leads to like shows like Naruto being
Yeah.
super popular in the U.S. and in the West.
True. Romanticized is probably the best word you can pick for it. But
Yeah, and so in that notion, where if you think that what made them amazing, what made them pure, was their lack of reliance on technology, in the same way that like a knight or a cowboy, you can't really imagine a cowboy with a machine gun, and you can't really imagine just like the great movie Wild Wild West,
Yes.
featuring Will Smith.
what? Excuse me?
Instant classic.
Wild Wild West, when it's the Wild Wild West and he is a sheriff, but then someone's
James
bringing
West.
technology.
James West is his name.
Yes, James West, and then he has to fight a guy who has no legs, who's trying to bring dark technology
Yeah.
from the Confederacy into the Wild Wild West.
But
And that's not right.
Gino, I'm glad you brought up the examples you did, right? Because if we look at the three we're looking at, right? Ninja, cowboy, knight. You could probably toss in samurai, right? Spartan. There's a ton of ones we could bring up. But if you look at what the pattern is here, it's that this mythos is always applied to warriors. It's always applied to combat. Like nobody looks at a doctor and say like, this penicillin's ridiculous. We need to go back to the old honorable ways, right? So I'm wondering, why is it that warfare gets this sort of anti-technology treatment? Like, why were things pure, better in the old days as opposed to now?
Well, from my perspective at least, I think part of that romanticized notion is the idea that in those times combat was in some ways more honorable or more personal, and less lethal. And less lethal, at least in my eyes. Like something romanticized about knights is that when a knight fought another knight, it was two people locked in battle and they both were consenting to be there, versus modern warfare where
Call of Duty, colon.
No.
yeah, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, where death is often, hundreds of feet away,
Yeah.
impersonalized by a gun, and all of a sudden the tact and the skill is removed, or the efficiency and ability to kill is increased by such a large degree that it takes something away. It loses some of its meaning, and loses, it makes everything just a lot more dangerous, a lot more violent.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But I think what you lose then is sort of how gruesome old-timey combat was, right? When you think about a
Yes.
morning star flying through somebody's skull, right? That's a lot dirtier, a lot less clean of a death, let's say, than a sniper bullet would be.
True.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple other points when we talk about sort of what makes this like historically a theme.
Mhm.
Is, oh yeah, I guess you mentioned something about knights like consenting to their combat or something.
Yeah.
Something with samurai too is like samurais had like a ranking system, and if samurais met in the field of battle and they weren't appropriately ranked, like for matchmaking, they would just agree to find another opponent. Like it would be not honorable if you fought somebody who was clearly weaker than you as a samurai. Like if you dispatched that opponent, you would like lose honor points, and that was unacceptable. But a lot of what made a lot of what made ninjas the way they appeared to be today is that they had to be stealthy, but not only on the job, off the job too. So their tools had to be stuff that you wouldn't think is weird.
Yeah, they were
Like
farmers.
a piece of bamboo. Yeah, like you had to have like a sickle, and then sickle became like these climbing hook weapons that ninja are typically seen using. They're called like
Sai.
no, not not side. They're called like
That's like
kasigamas or something like
yeah, it's
that.
like the sickle with like the weighted chain.
Yeah. That thing. And then like their swords were much smaller than samurai swords because they had to be carried more concealed. Like they were usually carried on the back so that they wouldn't get in your way while running. Like they had to have sort of like really like not conspicuous stuff, and they also didn't have the resources that a military enlisted person would have. So that's sort of why we have this, like I said, romanticized ninja using very, I guess, I don't know, you call them superhuman, but blown out of proportion techniques.
But it's historically inaccurate, right? And I don't
Yeah,
present
I
myself.
think it is historically
Yeah,
inaccurate.
I don't present myself as any sort of expert, right? So by all means, I could be wrong.
The
But,
way
like,
Mark of Ninja presents ninjas is not historically accurate.
yeah, right. Because ninjas were resistance to an occupying force. They were resistance to the samurai.
Yes.
So they were what's effective, what's useful, what's around us. So it makes sense for them to embrace technology in 21st century warfare.
Kind of, yeah.
They were essentially guerrilla soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
They were not.
Right?
So some of the things
What
that
do
ninjas
guerrillas do?
did,
They feed off the people they've defeated.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that you're totally right in that this is this romanticized notion, and I think that Azai is completely right in his idea that I need to embrace technology or I will be defeated by it.
Mm-hmm.
The only ninja who is capable of doing a damn thing against Count Karazhan basically takes a blood oath to do it and then kill himself. That's not really a great answer to a goon with a PMC.
Not a sustainable tactic.
You only have so many tattoos and so many ninja students who are just going to consent to kill themselves. Like, you know, if you're going to try to operate as this ignoble clan, you can't be at the mercy of a goon with a gun, which is what Karazhan is. I mean, he breaks into and defeats your dojo by him, like, you know, not by himself, but with a pretty, it seems like undertrained unit.
Yeah,
you snap their necks pretty easy.
Privatized defense force of some sort.
And yeah, I think it's made pretty clear that your path, the path of the ninja is not necessarily sustainable the way it is. Especially if they don't have their weird tattoo juice anymore.
Yeah. And the only thing that makes sort of this a dilemma then is that mythos we've established, sort of the purity of the old ways.
Yeah, and once it gets pulled back that aura is a figment of your imagination, all of a sudden it makes sense why that voice in your head is telling you that everyone else is not honorable. Because your character, then she is a voice of your character. She is your character's conscience in some ways. And so as a character who has undertaken this ritual with the understanding that you will commit an honorable sacrifice at the end, to see other people trying to avoid having to follow the path you yourself took would be an affront.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's the one character hyper committed to the traditional ways.
Exactly. And you put your life on the line and said, I'm going to do this for the clan, and seeing other people try to weasel their way out of a similar commitment would be upsetting. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're going slowly mad.
True.
Yeah, and that was something that made me a little weirded out. Like, I used the Path of Nightmares, and I knew that my character was slowly going insane, and I felt like I probably wasn't helping.
Yeah, all he had to do with me was just run. Very strong cardio workout.
Well, I think we hit all the topics on Mark of the Ninja. Anything else you guys wanted to mention?
No, that's all for me.
I liked this game. You said you wanted to do leaderboard stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. That's a good point. What did you? So you are on the leaderboards.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a problem with this game though, that the leaderboards don't mean that much, honestly, because so many people have like hacked their way to the top of the leaderboards. There are people on the leaderboards with scores of like 50 million. And I think like some of the best scores you can get in a level was like 40,000. So people have just broken the leaderboards. And here's how I'm just deriving at that top 1% number, which was not told me by the game, but mathematically derived by myself, is it tells you how many players there are, like how many people, how many unique accounts have played that level. And out of that number, I am in the top 1%. Like I usually score in the top 1,000 people who have done that level out of the 500,000 to 700,000 people that have played like that particular level, right?
And that's not filtering out the people who are cheating.
It's not filtering out the cheaters.
Yeah.
So, but even if it's not filtering out the cheaters, that bumps me down hundreds of spots on the leaderboard. But I'm still at the top because of how many people have played the game just like super casually and didn't, whatever. So being top of the leaderboards doesn't mean that much. It was something that took a lot of work for me to do, and then I was gratified for it, which is really the whole thing.
The thing I was interested in was figuring out, because you are on the top of the leaderboards, you are the person to ask about what is the most efficient way to play this game and the way to get the highest score, and it is kill fools and then play around with their bodies, basically.
Yeah, so what it amounted to was figuring out a lot of how mobility worked in the game and knowing if I kill a person here, can I get their body somewhere else I need it to be? Because a living guard actually has more mobility than a dead guard, right?
That is true.
I mean,
you can only throw them so far.
That's typically true of all things, for the most part.
Well, some of the guards you can get to go to specific areas where you can, if you time it like just right, you can scare another guard into being terrorized, or you can get them to a new location and use that body to terrorize other guards without having to kill somebody and drop yourself 200 points for not getting a specialized kill. So the difference between like rank 1,000 and rank 3,000 or 4,000 or 10,000 or 12,000 is like 150 or 200 points. There's a lot of people that are on quote unquote top of the leaderboards, and it's like 10 pages of everyone having the same score. And as soon as you get your score up 10 points, you jump like 50 points on the leaderboard. So like one change in your score makes a huge difference. So sometimes having literally one extra use of a body can jump you up 100 spots on the leaderboard or something like that. So the way that I play this game was I would make sure that I could get bodies where I needed them to go by using clever or well-planned kills, and then get the body to a new place where I could reuse it over and over again. Every single person that you kill has to be put into a hiding spot. So everybody has to be hidden at some point, and then you can retrieve it from the hiding spot again. So there were parts of a level where I just had to go in and get all the bodies dead at a particular point, and then spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, dragging all the bodies to the only hiding spot in that level, and just like put a guy in, get 200 points, take him out, put the next guy in, 200 points, take him out, put the next guy in, and I just have like a stack of bodies that just be like cycling in and out of this hiding spot, and just rack up 1,000 points that way, because that's the only hiding spot in that part of the game, and you can't take the bodies elsewhere, so you have to backtrack 30 minutes to get to a good hiding spot. And I did that happily, because I knew that I was going to get leaderboard position by doing that. I frequently had to backtrack to get to the loadout spot so you can refill your ammo, like refill your tools.
Items.
Yeah, refill your ninja items. If you backtrack, like if there's one of those things in the level, you have to use it probably 8 times to get a good score, because you have to use all your items to get bonus points, and then when they're out, you can't wait for the next checkpoint because you might not have done the level most efficiently. So you might have to do the level, try it out, see, all right, is that the best way that I could have done it? If so, then you can proceed. If you can do better, backtrack, get a refill, and continue with a refreshed stock of items. So sometimes it takes a long time to complete a level. I mean, I would spend probably a good hour or so on one level just grinding up score.
And the game, since it has no timer, does not disincentivize you to spend however much
True,
time
there
you
is
want.
no penalty for time.
I feel like you would enjoy the Path of the Hunter.
That had the double attack items, right?
Yeah, double
Yeah.
attack.
So some of the better kill methods used the distraction items. Excuse me.
You mean using the poison gas smoke
Yeah, like
bomb?
using poison gas
Or terrifying people with the
terrifying
darts.
them with the darts.
Well, the dart's an attack item.
Is it?
You can use.
Oh
you
yeah,
can
you're
use the
right.
dart
Dart's an
and-
attack item.
All right.
and the mine or the darts and the bugs, the horrible bugs. Did either of you use caltrops?
Yeah, I
No.
It's worth asking.
Were they
what does
just
that do?
worse version of mines?
yeah, but they're non-lethal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what does that do? So do
It
multiple
quote
people get to step on
unquote
them?
it quote unquote disables an enemy, and I think you can get like two guys walk into it at once. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I didn't use the caltrops, but they're a non-lethal disable.
Okay.
Like the enemy
So-
will be fine later, but so like let's say you have to stop an enemy's movement or get them or like you have to walk right past them. You can throw caltrops and they'll step on them and then they'll be quote unquote like stunned and you can just move past them easily without having to kill them. If you're doing like a
Okay,
pacifist
so-
run.
That's for pacifist
Yeah.
play. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Well,
leaderboard stuff is rewarding for me, but very repetitive, very tedious for anybody who's thinking about doing leaderboard stuff. I can say that I am top 1% leaderboards, but it was not without extensive labor. I mean, there were times...
and yet somehow you've spent 1/3 as much time playing this as you have spent playing Valda's Story.
Valda's Story is a great game. I'm playing it right now. Well, not right as we speak, but like, I'm in the middle of another playthrough.
Some would say it's Game of the Year. Some would.
Some would. I would say most would.
Greater than 2/3 of people. agree.
2/3 would.
So, yeah, that's all I have to say about leaderboard stuff.
All right, cool. Good to hear. So there is your insight from someone at the top of the leaderboards. It's a dark path. Don't take it. Seems to be the consensus there.
It's doable, but you're going to have to put in a lot of time.
Lots of
But
things.
the night is
really
dark and full of
doable.
terrors.
It's true.
So with that, thank you. This is our first podcast of 2016.
Woo!
Recorded in 2016.
Right.
Woo!
Woo! So thank you for everyone who's been listening.
Next game?
Yeah, right. Next game.
Yeah, next game.
Yeah.
So
Billy,
it's my choice, right?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
All right. I had to think about this one all podcast and probably all day today because I'm torn between two. I'm going to choose one and I won't spoil what the other one is, so it'll be a surprise next time. Think we're going to play a game called Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. And some listeners might be thinking like, are you serious? That game's like from like 1999 or something like that. But it got re-released as an HD, like an HD remix or not remix, like remaster version. And I bought it over the Black Friday Steam sale, so I got it for like a really, really good price. And I heard about it.
We're playing it because Billy got a good deal on it.
No. So here's like the history of this game. It actually came out in 2005. So 99 was too early. It came out in 2005. So it's 11 years old now. I heard about this game when I was in high school, and this was back when like G4 TV Network was doing game reviews and like doing like level walkthroughs and stuff.
Yeah, they covered the hell out of Oddworld Stranger's Wrath.
Yeah, they did because it was a great game, right? But I never played
Probably.
it.
Maybe.
I never played it. And then it showed up in the Steam store and I said, you know what? This game has been on my radar. Let me just play it. And so I'm pretty excited because I played about an hour of it today and it makes me want to dissect and pick apart where, like, why there was, okay, this game was like a platforming adventure game. And I remember every single game in the genre was awesome for me. And I wonder why I haven't seen a game like it in 10 years.
All right.
So,
Yep, it's got some cool.
Maybe we can
It's got
answer
some
it.
cool mechanics in
cool
it.
mechanics.
I will enjoy it.
You shoot critters out of a crossbow.
And you have to catch them. You have
gotta,
to catch them.
gotta catch critters, and then you shoot them out of a crossbow at your bad guys.
I like critters.
You'll probably get some great animal facts by playing Oddworld. Did you know that you can shoot a squirrel out of a crossbow?
I did know that. It's not usually super effective. It mostly upsets the squirrel.
I've lived my life based on that information.
Yeah, but I never played an Oddworld game, so this will be fun. They're kind of iconic for that time period, so
Yep.
should be good.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right.
it.
So next time, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. And so we should have a podcast for you every week this month. That's the plan going forward. Fingers crossed. So thank you once again, Billy.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Had a fun time. Look forward to doing more content.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully now we'll have a full year 2016 content for you guys.
Yep. And feedback, once again, is now at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter or deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. Remember to rate and review on iTunes. That helps us out, and we should be on Stitcher soon. I'll tweet it out on the new podcast feed on Twitter as soon as we get that feedback back. Okay, so till next time, peace.